3 seconds. That's how long it took my fiancée to look me dead in the eyes, in the apartment we paid for together, with another man still in our bed, and decide to burn her whole life down to save it. Because the second she saw me standing in that doorway, she didn't cry, she didn't beg, she screamed one thing, she screamed that she never said yes to this. And in that one breath she stopped being the woman I was going to marry and became something I had to survive. And here's the part she never saw coming. I didn't scream back. I went quiet. Because I already knew that lie was going to be the thing that ended her, not me. Before I get into any of it, thank you for being here with me right now. Seriously. It means more than you know. Do me one favor, drop the city you're listening from down in the comments. I read every single one and I'll give you a shout out. And if this story pulls you in even a little, tap that like and subscribe. That's the whole thing keeping this channel alive. Okay, so where do I even start with this? Me and Bree were together 3 years, engaged for the last one of those. We had a place in Denver, a 2-bedroom in Cap Hill, one of those old brick buildings off Pearl with the radiators that clank all winter, and a front door you had to shoulder check to open. I love that apartment. I'm telling you that because it matters later. We split the rent, we split the utilities, both our names on the lease, both our names on the little label by the buzzer downstairs. It felt like ours. That's the part that still gets me. Bree worked in medical device sales, did really well, drove a leased Audi she was way too proud of. I do commercial HVAC, which is not glamorous, but it's steady, and I'm good at it, and I made decent money. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Sunday mornings we'd walk down to this diner on 6th and get the green chili, and she'd steal half my hash browns every single time and act shocked when I called her out. Little stuff, that's what you miss. The little stuff. I thought we were solid. I genuinely did. I'd already started looking at venues out near Evergreen because she wanted mountains in the background of the photos. I had a spreadsheet, man, a wedding spreadsheet. That's how in it I was. So here's how it fell apart. I do a lot of rooftop unit work, and in the winter jobs get canceled all the time because you can't safely be up top when there's ice. That Tuesday we're supposed to be doing an install on a strip mall out in Aurora, and the whole thing gets pushed because a storm's rolling in off the Front Range. My foreman texts the group chat around 9 in the morning, go home, we'll pick it up Thursday. So I'm free. And I think, cool, I'll surprise Bree, she's been stressed. I'll grab lunch from that Thai place she likes and just show up. I remember I was in a genuinely good mood. I remember singing in the truck. I want you to hold on to that because that's the last minute of my old life. I come up the stairs, I've got the Thai food in one hand, and even before I get my key in the lock, I can hear the TV isn't on, and the shower is running, and there's, I don't know, a feeling. You know that feeling. Your body knows before your brain will let you know. I open the door. And I'm not going to narrate the room to you, that's not what this is, but I'll say this. Bree wasn't alone, and it was not a misunderstanding, it was not something I walked into and got confused about. There was a guy in our bedroom. In the bed we picked out together at the place on Broadway. The Thai food hit the floor. That green curry went everywhere. I didn't even feel my hand let go of it. And here's the part I still can't fully explain. I didn't yell. I didn't swing on the guy. I just stood there, completely frozen. And Bree comes flying up out of that bed, and her face, man, I've never seen a human face do what her face did. It went through about 6 things in 1 second. Shock, fear, and then something worse, something calculating. And she screams, not says, screams, it's not what you think. Nate, it's not what you think. He made me. I never said yes to this. He crossed the line. I want to be really clear about something right here, because it matters. When it's real, it's real. It happens to real people, and those people deserve to be heard every time. That's exactly why what she did next made me physically sick. Because she looked right at me, with this guy sitting there in our bed. And she reached for that. She reached for the worst thing a person can go through. And she tried to wear it like a coat to save herself. And I watched her do it in real time. The guy, and I found out his name was Cole, Cole goes absolutely white. He's scrambling for his jeans, and he's going, "Bree, what? No. What are you doing, Bree?" And she won't even look at him. She's got her eyes locked on me, and she's doubling down. She's crying now, real tears. And she's saying he showed up and wouldn't leave, and she was scared. And she didn't know how to make him go. Now. Something in me went very, very quiet. I can't describe it any other way. It's like all the noise in my head just dropped out, and there was this one clear thought sitting there in the silence. She's lying, and she's not just lying to me. She's about to try to ruin a man's life to cover her own tracks. And if I lose my temper right now, if I put my hands on this guy, if I break something, she wins. She gets to be the wronged one in the room. I become the crazy fiancé. So I didn't give her that. I bent down, I picked up the Thai food container off the floor. I set it on the counter, real gentle. And I said, "Okay. That's it. Just okay." And you should have seen her face when I said okay. Because that wasn't in her script. She'd already written how this scene was supposed to go. Me screaming, me throwing things, her being terrified. And instead, I'm calmly wiping curry off my hand with a paper towel like I'm at a work site. Cole got his stuff and got out of there so fast, he was still buttoning his shirt in the hallway. I actually held the door for him, I don't know why. Manners, I guess. And then it was just me and Bree. She switched tactics on a dime. The whole he crossed the line thing evaporated the second Cole was gone because there was no audience for it anymore. Now it was a mistake. It only happened once. I was drunk. We've been so distant lately. All the greatest hits. And I just let her talk. I sat on the arm of our couch and I let her run through the whole catalog. And here's the thing that I think saved me. And I mean, it saved me. While she was talking, one part of my brain was somewhere else entirely. It was replaying that thing she screamed, that he crossed the line, that she never said yes, because I knew Bree. I'd been with her 3 years, and Bree does not let a thing go. If she says something out loud, even in a panic, she will build a whole city on top of it rather than admit she made it up. Backing down was not in her, which meant that lie she blurted out in a panic wasn't going to just disappear. She was going to have to do something with it, and that's exactly what happened. But not that night. That night I packed a bag and I went to my buddy Marcus's place in Wash Park, and I slept on his couch, and I stared at his ceiling until the sun came up. I didn't cry. That came later, weird times like in the truck at a red light 3 weeks after. That night I just laid there doing math I didn't want to be doing. Now here's where it gets crazy. 2 days later, Marcus is at work and I'm on his couch and my phone lights up and it's a number, I don't know, Denver area code. I almost don't answer. I answer. It's Cole. And Cole is not okay. Cole is shaking through the phone. He says, "Man, I am so sorry. I had no idea she was engaged. She told me you two broke up months ago. She told me the apartment was hers." And I'm about to hang up because, honestly, why am I even listening to this guy? And then he says, the thing that changed everything. He says, "She sent me a screenshot of a report. She went to the police. She said I did something to her, the most damaging thing you can say about somebody." I sat straight up on that couch. He did nothing, but she had walked into a station or done it online. I found out later how it worked, and she had filed a complaint against Cole, claiming he'd crossed a line he never crossed, and she'd sent him the confirmation like a threat, like a leash. The message with it said, and Cole read it to me word for word, it said, "Stay quiet and stay away, and this goes away. Say one word to Nate, and I'll make sure everyone knows what you did." Let that sit for a second. She stepped out on me, got caught. And then she took the most damaging thing you can accuse a person of and turned it into a tool to control Cole's silence and to make herself, in my eyes, the wounded one. Can you believe that? I've told this story a few times now and people still don't believe that part. And you know what? Here's the wild thing. Up until that phone call, I was actually planning to just quietly leave, break the lease, eat the cost, move on, never see her again, let her have the whole mess. I was going to be the guy who just walks away clean. That was the plan. That phone call ended that plan, because now it wasn't about my broken heart. Cole was a dumb kid. He was 26. He made a bad decision with a woman who lied to his face, but he did not deserve to have a fake claim like that follow him around for the rest of his life. And I knew Bree. If it served her, she'd let it ride all the way to a courtroom. She would. So I told Cole 2 things. 1, stop talking to her. Do not respond. Do not threaten back. Nothing. And 2, screenshot everything, every message she ever sent you from the very first one, and back it up somewhere that isn't your phone. He goes, "You'd help me after what I did?" And I said, "I'm doing this for the truth, and right now you just happen to be standing next to it." Okay, so now I need to back up and tell you about the apartment, because this is where it turns. Our building had cameras. Every unit door in that building was on a smart lock system, the kind where you get a text when someone comes in, and the property manager, this older guy named Frank, who'd known me 2 years because I'd fixed his swamp cooler for free once, Frank had access to all the entry logs, timestamps, every unlock. Every unlock had a code, and Bree and I had different codes. Plus, there was a guest code she could generate. You see where this is going? I called Frank. I told him the situation plainly, no drama, and I asked if I could get the entry log for our unit for the past couple months, since my name was on the lease and I had a right to it. Frank, God bless Frank, says, "Nate, I gotta tell you, I've watched that guy come and go for weeks. I figured he was a friend of yours." Weeks, not one time, not a drunken mistake. Weeks. Every single one of those entries. It wasn't Cole breaking in. It was Bree's guest code letting him in. Or Bree opening the door herself, on camera, in the hallway, letting him in with a smile. One time in that green robe I got her for Christmas. Frank pulled the hallway footage. There she is, opening the door, happy, comfortable. This is not a woman being forced by anybody, and every second of it said so. And I want you to understand, I did not feel triumphant looking at that footage. I felt sick. I sat in Frank's little office with the space heater humming, and I looked at weeks of her letting this guy into our home, into our bed, and then remembering how she'd steal my hash browns on Sunday and act innocent, and I just felt hollowed out, angry and sad and honestly embarrassed. All of it at once. It kept switching. But I took copies of everything, every log. Frank helped me. He said, "This isn't right what she's doing. I've got a daughter. This kind of thing hurts the people it really happens to." And he was right, and I've never forgotten him saying it. So now I've got Cole's texts coming, months of them, and I've got the building's entry logs and hallway camera stills. And I sat down one night at Marcus's kitchen table, and I laid it all out like one of my job estimates, timeline down the left, evidence down the right, and the story that data told was airtight. On the exact dates and times Bree's version would need Cole to have forced his way in, the logs showed her generating a guest code for him from her phone, willingly, over and over. Here's the part where I have to be honest about the kind of person I became for a few weeks, because I'm not going to pretend I was a saint. I could have gone straight to the police with all of it right away, but I didn't. I sat on it. And I'll tell you why, and you can judge me. I wanted her to commit. I wanted her all the way out on the branch before anybody sawed it off, because if I moved too early, she could still walk it back, say it was a misunderstanding, say she was emotional, cry to a detective. But if she doubled down, if she pushed that lie into an official process with her whole chest, then the evidence wouldn't just clear Cole, it would land right back on her. And I knew she'd double down, because backing down was never in her. So I waited. And I let her think she was winning. She started texting me again about a week in. Sweet at first. Then, when I didn't bite, guilt trips. Then, and this is the tell, then she started building the narrative in writing. She sent me these long messages about how shaken she'd been, how Cole had pressured her, how she'd been afraid to tell me the truth, how she needed me to stand by her, in writing, on my phone. Screenshot, backed up, screenshot, backed up. She didn't know that every message she sent me trying to sell that story was another brick I was stacking. She thought she was reeling me back. She was handing me the case. And here's where it got really out of hand. Bree's family got involved. Her mom, Diane, calls me, And Diane is furious at me. She's going, "How could you abandon my daughter after what that man did to her? She's a victim, Nathan, and you walked out on her." Bree had told her whole family the other version. Her sister unfriended me on everything. Her uncle sent me a text calling me a coward. This thing had grown legs, and it was walking all over my life and Cole's life, while Bree sat in my apartment, the apartment I was still paying half the rent on, playing the wounded angel to a captive audience. And I let it burn. I know how that sounds. I let the fire spread because I knew where the water was, and I was waiting for the right second to turn it on. The second came when I got a certified letter. Bree had lawyered up, and her lawyer sent me a letter basically saying she intended to keep the apartment, that given everything she'd supposedly been through there, she needed the stability, and that I should sign over my interest in the lease. And, get this, continue contributing to rent as, quote, a decent thing to do given what she'd been through. She wanted the apartment. My apartment. The one I loved. She wanted to keep it, and she wanted me to keep paying for it, and she wanted to do it all on the back of a lie about something that never happened. That's when I knew what she wanted most. It wasn't Cole, it wasn't me back. It was to come out of this on top, to keep the home, keep the sympathy, keep the story, and have me be the villain footing the bill. That was the prize. So I made sure that was exactly the thing she lost. I didn't call her. I didn't call Diane. I got a lawyer of my own, a straight shooter named Priya, out of a firm downtown, and I brought her the folder. Everything. Timeline, entry logs, hallway stills, Frank's statement, Cole's months of texts, including the ones where Bree initiated everything, and Bree's own messages to me building the fake story, plus that screenshot of the complaint she'd sent Cole as a threat. Priya read the whole thing without saying a word. Then she took her glasses off, and she looked at me and she said, "Nate, you understand that filing a false report is a crime, and using it to threaten someone into silence, that's its own problem. This isn't a breakup fight anymore. She's exposed herself to real legal trouble." I said, "I know." She said, "Do you want to destroy her, or do you want to protect Cole and get yourself free?" And I sat with that, because there's a version of me that wanted to burn it all down. There really was. But that quiet voice from the doorway came back, the one that said, "Don't let her turn you into the crazy one." So I said, "I want the truth on the record. I want that complaint withdrawn. I want Cole cleared, and I want out of that lease clean. If she catches consequences for what she filed, that's just the truth arriving. I'm not going out of my way to twist the knife." Priya kind of nodded like that was the right answer. And honestly, I think it was. Here's how it came apart for Bree. Priya contacted Bree's attorney, and, real professional, laid out that we were in possession of building entry records, time-stamped, showing guest access authorized by Bree's own device on the dates in question, plus hallway camera footage, plus a full history of communications between Bree and Cole, showing an ongoing relationship both of them chose, plus documentation of a message where Bree appeared to threaten a witness using that report, and that if the complaint against Cole was not immediately and truthfully corrected, all of it would be turned over to the district attorney's office, because a false report that Sirius used to coerce someone was not something we were willing to sit on. You know what happened when Bree's own lawyer saw that evidence? He dropped her, withdrew, because no attorney wants to be anywhere near a client actively sitting on a false claim that's serious once there's a paper trail proving it's false. And that's when Bree's whole thing collapsed, all at once, like a tent when you pull the center pole. The complaint against Cole got recanted. She had to go in and correct it. I don't know exactly what was said in that room, but I know Cole called me after, and this grown man was crying, and he just kept saying, "Thank you, thank you." And I told him to go live his life and make better choices and never let a woman convince him a real relationship is a secret. Her family found out the truth. This is the part that got her worst, I think, worse than anything legal, because Diane, her own mother, got shown the timeline, the entry logs. Her daughter smiling in the hallway in the Christmas robe, letting Cole in. And I heard secondhand that Diane didn't speak to her for months. The sister who unfriended me, She reached out to me, actually apologized, said she was disgusted, said she couldn't believe Bree would use something like that as a weapon. The whole army of relatives that had been calling me a coward went dead silent. Because the story they'd been fed was a lie, and now they all knew it. And there's no coming back from that kind of exposed in a family. She lost the apartment, obviously. Once the lie was gone, she had no leg to stand on. And when the property manager, Frank, got wind of the whole thing and the fact that she'd tried to use his building's residents and cameras as props in a story that never happened, he was not exactly her biggest fan. She was out by the end of the month. I kept the place. I stood in that living room the day she moved the last of her stuff out, and I opened all the windows even though it was freezing, just to let the air move through it. And her job, I didn't do a single thing about her job. I want that on the record. But medical device sales is a small world, and reputations travel, and when your own family and your own lawyer walk away from you, word gets around. She ended up leaving Denver. Last I heard, she moved back to wherever her mom lives, somewhere in the Midwest. And I genuinely don't know more than that, and I don't want to. Did she face consequences for what she filed? Here's the honest answer, and I'm not going to dress it up. The DA's office had everything, and I was told a false report that Sirius used to scare a witness into silence is the kind of thing they can pursue. Whether they threw the full book at her or whether it got handled quieter than that, I stepped back at that point and let the system do what it does. I got what I actually needed. Cole was cleared. The truth was on the record. I was free, and she'd lost every single thing she'd tried to steal. That was enough. Chasing more would have just chained me back to her, and I was done being chained to her. So let me tell you about the release, because that's the part I actually want you to feel. There was this one morning, a few weeks after she was gone, and I woke up in that apartment, in a new bed. I got rid of the old one, obviously, and it was snowing outside, big, fat, quiet flakes, and the radiator was clanking, and I could hear the city being all muffled the way it gets under snow. And I just laid there, and I realized my shoulders weren't up around my ears. For the first time in months, my jaw wasn't tight. I wasn't bracing. I got up, I made coffee, I walked down to the diner on 6th by myself, and I ordered the green chili, and nobody stole my hash browns, and I sat in that booth, and I ate the whole thing, and I felt for the first time in what felt like forever, like a person again, just a regular guy having breakfast. Free. I breathed out. I remember actually noticing myself breathe out. Marcus asked me a while later if I regretted not going all in, not making her suffer more, and I told him no. Because the thing is, I didn't have to ruin her. She built the machine that took her down all by herself. Every single thing that took her down was something she chose. The cheating, the lie, the threat, the doubling down. I just stopped standing in front of it. I stepped aside and let her run full speed into the wall she built. And here's what I've got for you if you made it this far with me, and thank you for that, really. When somebody shows you they're willing to burn down the most sacred thing there is, someone else's real pain, and use it as a shield just to save their own skin, believe them the first time. That's not a mistake they made. That's who they are. She showed me exactly what she was in the worst 3 seconds of my life, standing in that doorway, and the smartest thing I ever did was go quiet, watch, and let the truth do the heavy lifting instead of my fists or my temper. The truth is patient. It doesn't need you to scream. You just have to be willing to wait for it and keep your hands clean while you do. I got my quiet apartment. I got my Sunday breakfast. I got my life back. And she got exactly what she was really after, which was to be the center of the whole story. She just never figured the story would end with everybody knowing the truth. Take care of yourselves out there, and don't ever let anybody make you the villain in a story you didn't write.